Pale Nation. Hangout number 434. Yeah, we are an hour plus late. And then, of course, I hack up along. In case you're wondering, yeah, I had a little issue with getting my getting some stuff loaded up on on Rumble, and yeah, I had to start all over again, which is why we're starting so late. For those of you who don't know, I have an account at you can sponsor me at Patreon as Naroki5. With me tonight, I have Back from the Dead, or maybe not Back from the Dead, but glad to be here doing a rare drop in. Rearson, introduce yourself.
I'm going to be paying for this one on certain other channels, but that's fine. I expect nothing less. Actually, from both of us, we're rather immature, and I know he's going to listen to this, and I could really care less. Screw you. Not you, Naruki, not V, but just you know who you are. Anyway. Yeah, I'm feeling vindicated. That's all that I'm going to say. I have made a point to want to stay out of the whole podcasting thing, and I mean, it really, it's not my thing. I don't know how else to say it, but anyway, when we get to about just over halfway through, there's going to be a shitstorm coming out from Alberta, and I apologize in advance of any language that I may be using. That is going to be, well, pretty much par for course. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, yes, I'll try to stay alive through this. Also, that was me coughing, Angel, not Rearson. That was all right. And the other person here tonight, V, introduce yourself.
Well, everybody knows, at least they should know. I'm V from the Red Pill Hardcore. Doing a lot of BS here lately, but I'm going to try not to let it affect the show. So if I'm just muted at times, it's, I'm roughing it out. I don't exactly have the most sane people around me right now. So.
Oh, so things are actually quite normal for you then. Thanks for letting us know. All right. All right. For those of you who don't know, I am at in order of number of places: BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Bradion, and YouTube. Oh, please don't cancel my YouTube. I'll lose a whole 4.5% of my entire audience if you take down my YouTube again. So please, please don't. I don't really care. If you do, I'll just have the pleasure of re-uploading all the Spetsnaz comment all over again. I'm also at Rumble Minds Gap. Sorry, Facebook Minds Gap, MeWe, Parlor. Oh, sorry, Getter and TLB Talks. That is it for tonight. The topic. Sorry, no time for jokes because we started kind of late tonight. Because I'm really feeling the Fag War 6969 with the front and rear traction, aka fart. But we won't get into that tonight. Nor will we get into the people with suspiciously shaky wrists that are anti-Trump protesters that go into the bathroom and jerk off to Orange Man Bad and the Orange Man Bad hand balm that they have to use to avoid getting cherry blisters. No, we won't talk about that either. Will we, folks?
There you go. No standards, folks. No standards.
All right, so the topics for tonight are as follows. Topic number one, and we literally this because V was here when I found out this one. Marine Le Pen in France, arrested and banned from running in the 2027 federal election, French elections. Two, and this one I'm really looking forward to. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has recommended the death penalty for Luigi Mangione. Topic number three, Freedom Convoy protesters Tamara, Lich, and Chris Barber found guilty. Four, this is the one I'm actually going to let Rearson go tops on number four. Donald Trump executes massive tariffs on multiple foreign nations' markets, and Democrats are in an uproar, and the mainstream media, and a few others. Topic number five, and V doesn't know much about you have to be in Canada to know this woman, but I'll explain who Rachel Gilmoure is when we get to her. Rachel Gilmoure fired from CTV. Can't help but celebrate about that one. And topic number six, Russell Brand and Jean-Claude Van Damme both charged with sexual assaults in separate incidents. Okay, that takes care of that. Well, we got up to four really quickly there. Hello, four listeners. All right, so we'll just get right into the topics here. Oh, there we go. And we will start out with Marine Le Pen. All right, well, here's what I can tell you specifically about Marine Le Pen. She was the daughter of Maurice Le Pen, who was running an anti-Muslim campaign for the longest freaking time. And what he died, he took it from just a fringe party that were getting seats in Marseille to the place where it became the official opposition. And then when it became the official opposition, I don't think he died or he got too old and his daughter took over. Now, each time out, Marine Le Pen has come closer and closer to actually winning. It took an absolutely heroic effort by the globalists in France to win the last election. So they literally tried, they've done the same thing to Marine Le Pen that the U.S. been trying to do to Donald Trump. They came up with a charge. Unlike Donald Trump, they actually found her guilty on this one, and she is now officially under house arrest and cannot run in the 2027 elections. The unfortunate thing about this for them is that much like what happened with Donald Trump, I have a personal feeling that this is really just going to backfire rather massively on them. And what's going to happen here is that what they've pretty much gone and done, even though they think they've actually eliminated a potential a quote unquote threat to democracy. In fact, a lot of left-leaning newspapers in Europe and in North America were saying that, like, even though jailing or attempting to put under house arrest your chief political opponent is considered is considered Banana Republic material. They're going around saying, "Oh, yay, hey, this is great for France. This is great for Europe. Nobody's going to notice anything. Who freaking Ray?" I think personally what they've gone and done is they just literally have pretty much guaranteed that Marine Le Pen's party is probably going to win the next election, because there were huge amounts of protests against this when this happened. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V, who probably doesn't know that much about France, but take it away anyway, V.
I know a lot about the frogs. They
Well,
cower.
they're not green. They're not green, and they don't go ribbit.
They like poodles. They're anti-American. So screw 'em. I'll let Rurston have his say.
Well, that was quick. Oh, piss off. All right. Le Pen being barred from being able to be the leading figurehead of the French resistance within the government. I'm not surprised that this actually happened. I mean, this has basically been kind of boiling up for quite a while. I mean, where do we even really start with this one? I mean, Macron's wife is slowly being outed as likely being a cross-dresser at best. And the age difference is certainly incredibly questionable. I'm sorry, but I'd apologize for sounding speculative here on this one, but for me, this, when I first saw it, I was like, well, I'm not surprised by this. In fact, I was expecting something like this to happen with the previous election. I mean, she was gaining progressively after the she's ran for office 3 times. I think it's 3 times now. And now she's going to be banned. It's just more deep state fuckery with what's going on over there. I'm not surprised at all. I can't explain it logically. I'd apologize for that, but I'm not going to. But yeah, I am not in the very least, I'm not surprised by this. But then again, I mean, given what seems to be photos of Justin Trudeau and Macron locking lips in more ways than should not be possible between what I would think to be heterosexual males, though Trudeau certainly is questionable, and I don't think it's all that far off with Macron. Yeah. What seems to be the norm within Europe is that within Western Europe, is that down is up and up is down, and males get back into males, and I don't know what else to say to this one. Well, congratulations, France. Guess what? Your level of corruption is actually starting to rival that, I think, of Canada. I really have to say that. So maybe enough of the French are going to wake up, but probably not. I have very little doubt in them. It's just like I have very little doubt in most Canadians, but we'll get around to that one. So yeah, surprised but not surprised, shocker but not a shocker. So Norky, I got nothing more. Back to you.
Well, I think I might be coming down with a chest cold here.
Do you have a fur ball to get rid of? Just asking.
What?
Do you have a fur ball to get rid of?
No, I'm not part cat. The whole thing it looks like it's lawfare to me, and you're starting to see this a lot. You know, they're losing control. The globalists or whatever. I get that not because Mark Edworthy's not here, and Mark Edworthy makes these distinctions. There's a catch-all term for them. I just call them the globalists. The globalists are losing control of countries and state legislatures and city halls at a very alarming rate. The mainstream media, and when we get to topic number 4, this will become very, very obvious. The mainstream media just simply cannot control the narrative like they used to. And the it's getting worse and worse and worse. So now they're having to go to de facto last resort, which is using the courts, and they're using lawfare to try and stop Trump at every turn. They're using lawfare in Canada. They're using lawfare they use lawfare in Romania to toss up the results of the first round of elections there, and they have to start all over again. They're using lawfare, and they're also, because I'm pretty sure for 435 we're going to be talking about the hands off protests that took place over the weekend. They're using fake AstroTurf campaigns, and they're using a lot of lawfare, which means that they're also, I suspect, they're also probably attempting to set things up to maybe get control of Congress in 2026. I don't think that's going to work. But, you never really know. And I guess we're kind of done on this topic again, right? My apologies if I have any overseas listeners or whatever. I'm just not as familiar with Europe or Southeast Asia or India, or definitely not as familiar with Africa as maybe I should be. There's not really a whole lot of in-depth analysis that I can get into about France, because I don't know what the culture is like over there, and I don't know what the mood is like over there. I do know that Europe is way more authoritarian than they are in North America. That I know for a fact. But with that, let's get on to the next topic. Oh, I am going to be going off for a little bit on this one. Not necessarily because I personally have an issue with Luigi Mangione. The issue with me when it comes to Luigi Mangione is the fact that they, specifically the left here in North America, has attempted to portray Luigi Mangione as some type of a folk hero, because he went out and murdered a CEO basically by shooting him in the back in cold blood and then running away like a craven coward. And he did it because his medical he has a medical condition that effectively prevents him from being able to have sexual relations with a woman. It's not his penis. It has something to do with his spine, apparently. And it was it was done apparently in a surfing accident, and Luigi Mangione effectively qualifies as an incel, and he's the thing about Luigi Mangione is, like, just like Elliot Rodger, Luigi Mangione came from privilege. He came from a very rich family. He had a good pedigree. He had a good education. He was young. He was good looking. He's probably getting more than enough sex. And then all of a sudden, one surfing accident took all of that away from him. And like a lot of guys that are his age, he has a very hard time wrapping his head around the fact that, suddenly he can't have sex anymore. And he's doing everything he can to be able to reestablish sexual relations with women, and operation after operation after medical procedure fails to work for him. So the loss of status and the inability to use personal skills to do things like, say, what they talk about in the manosphere, for instance, which is transforming that sexual energy into something that can be more productive. He was not willing to do that. He, like Elliot Rodger, believed that he was entitled to these medical procedures and these medical things, and he wrapped it up in because he's a leftist to boot, he wrapped up what he was doing to this CEO as some type of a noble strike against the corrupt elite, even though he himself is from the elite. So he goes over and he shoots this guy in the back. And when he runs, he goes over and shoots him in the back again. And then instead of trying to own up to it, he runs away like a craven coward. Dumps his stuff, runs away like a craven coward, and gets caught. And when he gets caught, he gets belligerent and defiant. And the left absolutely embraces him to the point where, when I start pointing out to these individuals that they are actually, because they tend to look down on incels quite severely, they get really, really angry when I tell them that Luigi Mangione is an incel. Well, I think that may have had something to do with what Pam Bondi's decision was. But I mean, ultimately as well, I think it also had to do with the fact that Luigi Mangione was an entitled, rich fucking kid who believed that he was entitled to whatever just because, and shot a man in the back because he was being denied something that he felt entitled to just because, and believed himself to be a hero. And he's not. Any of you fucking leftist idiots out there that listen to this, he's not a fucking hero. Just because. And yeah, I personally do not have a problem with this motherfucker frying. I hope he gets the electric chair. Again, he's not guilty. He hasn't been convicted yet, although it's kind of hard to dispute whether that he's going to be declared innocent when there's clear video of him hanging outside where this guy was for the 2 previous days ahead of time. And when he does get the chance to deal with this guy, shoots him in the back like a coward and then runs away like a craven coward and gets belligerent when he gets caught. Like that is a hero to the left. Just let that sink in. And I've gone on long enough, so I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, I deal with self-righteous, self-entitled people every day. And it's always, because they think they think that they know more than you, or because they're a little bit older than you, or whatever arbitrary thing that cannot be that actually can be surpassed. Excuse me. And these people. Okay, so I have a saying, and I'm gonna say it for the first time on the air. I should probably trademark it, but okay, so it goes like this. You can't keep track of your own crap if you have your head up somebody's ass all the time. Or you can say it backwards. If your head's always up somebody's ass, you can't keep track of your own crap. So, it's just people that just can't take responsibility. They think their place in life is just to dump on everybody else. And it's just like this total bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language. That's how I've had it rough for the past few weeks here. Oh man. But it's I don't know, there's some people out there that just live in delusion and they need a wake-up call. How they get that wake-up call? Well, You know, it's better to come to that realization, to that wake up call, before life forces you to have that wake up call. Because life is not merciful. Life does not care that it's your day off. Life doesn't care about anything you got going on. So it's always best to be mindful of one's business. When I say that, of your own business, and not be so worried about everybody else. But yeah, when you got these people who are just so damn entitlement. It's their place to be teaching you. It's their place to be showing you. It's their place to be directing you. You know, micromanage you. Step here, don't step there. You know, these people, I don't know where they get off, but they need to hurry up and get the hell off. That's all you gotta say about that.
Rearson.
Yeah, the whole thing with Luigi is that I don't remember who it was, had kind of gone over things with a fine-tooth comb, or a finer tooth comb. But again, it doesn't seem to be who fucking knows anymore. I mean, the way that things are going right now, like I said before, down is up and up is down, and out is in and in is out. I'm not saying what's happened to him hasn't occurred, but for him to be picked out of McDonald's just kind of seemed a little bit weird. I don't know what else to say on this one. And I mean, given the level of fuckery that's happened with the J6 shit and whatever else, I mean, who knows? I don't necessarily disagree with him with what's going on with him, but right now at the same time as well, though, with Pam Bondi, things seem to be a little bit slow with the Epstein files and list and whatnot. So I think maybe at this point, Mangione, if he is going to be processed or prosecuted or whatever, he's the easiest of the low-hanging fruit that they can go after. And for the news cycle, I'm sorry, but he's going to be a sacrificial lamb. I really think it needs to be called for what it is. I don't disagree with what we've been told about him and his condition. But, again, all things being equal, fuck, who knows? I mean, I really honestly don't know, so how this is going to unwind and unravel later on down the road, that remains to be seen. So, time will tell. And I don't have anything more to say, my friend. Back to you.
Okay, well, I'm going to point out something here about this situation. Because we covered this on the last episode here. But Pam Bondi went into the New York office of the FBI, forced the director there to step down, and then has gone and distributed literally all of the video files that were at the New York office to every single field office in the U.S., which is going to make it monstrously difficult for any one person inside the state to be able to get back all the files. So there's that going on. I also have a personal suspicion that the FBI office in New York City did that on purpose to make Trump. Again, this is part of, and we discussed this on the last episode, this is part of the reason why the Trump administration brought in Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has had to do, although albeit on a much smaller scale, he's had to do a purging of a rather large company, otherwise known as Twitter, to get rid of most of the wokesters that existed in there. And it took him, and we just got, and I believe you were on that show when the guy from PSEC, I can't remember his last name right off the top of my head.
Kelso?
Dave Kelso from PSEC said it was going to take a year to 2 years for Musk to completely clear out everything that was going on in Twitter. And Twitter is a much smaller space than having to do it for the entire country. So there's that. And also, one other thing in regards to this show, and I don't mean to get overly defensive about it because I don't want to get overly defensive about it. My viewership and my growth is me versus me. To quote Jordan Peterson, rule number 2, you measure yourself by where you were a few months ago. You don't measure yourself by whether somebody else has a podcast that is getting, say, 50 or 60 viewers and I'm only getting 4 or 5. Like, I don't do that. It's me versus me. That's how I do that. That's how I do this. And if you're listening, that's how I measure it. And I don't want to have to deal with this type of melodrama again. And with that, we're going to move on to the next topic tonight. The next topic for tonight. And no, it's not going to be Rachel Gilmoure, or maybe it is. Oh, it is the Freedom Convoy. So what happened with the Freedom Convoy? Well, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, after a 6-month-long trial, were both found guilty of, and I think you're going to love this considering how much evidence was presented, mischief by the judge on very flimsy circumstantial evidence. I was hoping that maybe they would be found not guilty. I think what the judge did, and by the way, this was a bench trial. This wasn't a jury trial, because if this had been a jury trial, I think things would have gone much differently. I think what was going on here is that the judge here needed to find some type of a middle ground to make certain interests inside Ottawa and the Liberal Party happy. So he had to find Lich and Barber guilty. But he couldn't throw the book at them because what they were doing wasn't really criminal in any real technical. It was a Democratic protest that Justin Trudeau ran away from like a little fucking bitch. And I think Rearson would agree with my assessment on that.
That's being polite, man. That's being incredibly polite.
Yep. The whole thing with this is that, I mean, and I was speculating on this. The whole thing on this was that, I mean, the whole trial itself appeared to be, hold on a second. Sorry, I had another coughing thing coming up. Appeared to be a deliberate attempt to try to break both Lich and Barber and the lawyers who were defending them, who were doing it free of charge. They were trying to make it financially uncomfortable for the defendants in this particular situation, which is why the trial dragged on for so long. The ruling is not a surprise. The ruling is definitely going to get appealed. I'm not sure there's going to be a sentencing, I think, next month for them. I suspect they're going to get a harsher sentence than you might expect, but I don't think they're going to end up in jail. because the last, and I'm pretty goddamn sure Carney knows this, the last thing he needs right after he is, say, elected prime minister, if he is elected prime minister, is a martyr. If Polyev is elected, it's going to be a different situation. But yeah, the last thing that the Liberals need right now is a martyr. And I'm not, again, the result was not overly surprising. And if you don't know who these two people are, these were the people who organized the Freedom Convoy in Canada. You know, the country that apparently doesn't have any backbone and any balls to stage any type of civil disobedience. That country, yeah, these two were the people who organized that. And I think this is something that's definitely going to stand out to me about the Freedom Convoy. Nobody can say that Canadians don't have any balls after this protest. Like, nobody can say that. And with that, and it didn't mean to target UV, but I mean, I've heard you say that a few times. The convoy protest clearly demonstrate that that's not the case.
I would agree.
With that, I'm going to go, yeah, and now you're actually up, V, so take it away.
And also on top of it, do you think? I know this ties into the next topic, but I might be shooting my load prematurely here. But don't you think this also might be a sort of a slap in the face to Trump? Like,
oh, it
this
could
is what you should
definitely
have done
be.
with the January 6th protesters. Yeah, we got balls. We'll protest our people. I mean, we'll throw our people in jail. You're a weakling, you know. And it's like, this is punishment for the Tariffs to humiliate him and make him look weak.
Oh, that's definitely a possibility. You definitely are onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that comes to mind for me. It's like, you know, yeah, Canadians are nice and all that stuff, you know, whatever. But I know I'm being silly here, but it's just like, yeah, they're coming down hard with the book, coming down. So and yeah, I mean, protesters. Yeah, this is like your version of the January 6th. So somebody must be prosecuted. Someone must be made an example of. And yeah, they're capable of doing it because Trump isn't. Yeah, that's the only thing I see. But with that, Rierson, what do you think? Go ahead.
Well, I believe about a week to 2 weeks before, there was Pat King who got he was found guilty of similar charges. It was things that were out of his control, but because he was a head, he was one of the primary organizers, and who seemed to have been a political shit disturber. He was basically not. What's the phrase I'm looking for here? Something to the effect of throw the book at him. That's what I'm looking for. It wasn't a case of throw the book at him. Rather, it was more, as Stalin has said, "Show me the man, and I'll give you the crime." You know, that sort of thing. And that's probably what's applicable to all three of them: Pat King, Barber, and Lich. So, I'm sorry. Oh, this is a beautiful segue going into topic 4. Holy shit! I'm just ready to chomp on the bit on this one. I'm not surprised with this one. I was hoping for the best, but realistically and honestly, I was expecting the worst. And I mean, these people have had their lives, the three of them, have had their lives put on hold for the last 2 to 3 years. So, yeah. And you wonder why I feel that Canada is a failed state. And I make no apologies by saying that, because it really is. Whatever anybody may think of the U.S. of A, being a failed state, trust me, look north of the border, fuckers have not seen anything yet. So we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, Norky, back to you on this one.
Yeah, this is. I mean, oh, go ahead, V.
Well, I was gonna say the U.S. is failed state 50 times over.
Oh, Noam Chomsky wrote a book called Failed States that I listened to, and he makes a very, very solid case about the U.S. being a failed state.
Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of modern, I can't say revisionist history, but modern revisionist tactics, I mean, as bad as Obama was, and I think he was pretty terrible, I really do. And it was based on policy, and, well, actually, much like Trudeau as well, too. I mean, I see a lot of likely similarities. I mean, there was something I heard about, what if an elected leader was secretly gay and he got into power? And apparently that's what Trudeau had said 2 weeks before he left. So, I don't know. I don't fucking know. But I know what I'm ready to say with the next one. So, I got nothing more to say.
All right, let's move on to. Oops! I totally forgot. So I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to put the timestamp in for that last topic here. Oh, wow. Okay, Rusin, this was the one that you wanted added, and it was going to be added in anyway. You're the one who wanted this, so I will let you go first.
Okay. Going back to this whole tariff thing that first came up with Canada and the U.S. of tariffs. And let's be honest here, folks. The Trump doctrine, and I'm not talking about his politics, I'm just talking about the way that he operates when he goes into negotiations. He's going to say something incredibly bombastic. It's going to throw people off. And what will happen is that you're going to have one or two things are going to happen. And I have seen, and this is the reason why that I need to come back into this. So if someone's going to be listening to this, leave that alone. Ultimately, what it boils down to is that and I'll admit, I was guilty of this earlier tonight. I reacted. I reacted and I lost. But someone else is reacting and he's also losing. And you know you are. But there was only one person within the leadership of the Canadian provinces and federally, which was, in my opinion, Danielle Smith, and who went down to Mar-a-Lago with the help of Kevin O'Leary, like him or hate him, and apparently Trump beelined to her, and they were starting to talk, and it was a lot of interest. Now, with the way that Alberta is starting to present itself, and we're not going to go into this tonight, but it's going to be very interesting. Apparently, Alberta's dissatisfaction of being part of the Canadian Federation, not Confederation, but Federation, apparently has made its way to Trump's desk. Now, what's going to happen? I have no idea. I have no clue. We'll wait and see. So that being said, with everyone in Canada that was losing their goddamn fucking mind over Trump's tariffs, which was going to go against the USMCA or CUSMA or take your pick, US, Canada, and or Mexico agreement. This is how I've been feeling for a while, and to now finally see that Trump, and I said this before, is that Trump, realistically, he has to wait until Canada goes into an election before he's going to really do anything. And he backed off 3 fucking times. 3 times. And Canadians that have TDS fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And in regards to my fellow countrymen, I'll use that term very loosely. Here we go. This is how I feel.
Is that really how you feel?
Oh, that is exactly how I feel. That is exactly how I feel. I fucking called it. Like, I did call it. I called it with a certain level of uncertainty, but like it made no sense as to why the Trump would upend the. He would upend. He would kick up the table, the card playing table, and scream at everybody and whatever else. I mean, there was Ontario Premier, shall we say Governor, Doug Ford was talking about cutting off electricity to the U.S. That would have affected New York State, Michigan, and I believe Wisconsin or Minnesota, one of the two anyway. And that unto itself was an act of war. And he was playing it off as being, well, I don't really want to do this, but that big tub of shit went into an election. He won it, but unlike U.S. election dates, the Westminster Canadian parliamentary system is that the ruling party can call an election wherever they want, or they have to meet a certain point in time where it has to be called. So, I don't know. I mean, and again, going back to what the premise of the tariff war was all about, it came down to securing the Canadian border with illegal immigrants. Yes, it's not as much as Mexico is, but there's enough of them that are crossing over that Trump wants it addressed, and he wants it closed off as much as possible. And it also came down to the fentanyl labs. Now, apparently, the biggest fentanyl lab bust has happened in Vancouver, in BC, which is going west from where Noroki and I live. And you know who they got? Who they arrested for that? Or as person under suspicion? It was the fucking janitor. Like, there's nobody else that was involved in this. And this is apparently the biggest fucking lab. So, I'm sorry, but Canada's a joke. Like, it is an absolute goddamn fucking joke. And I make no apologies to say to my fellow Canadians that, you know what? Guess what, folks? You've been sold a bill of goods. You've lost your fucking shit on American-made goods. Should Canadians be buying more Canadian stuff? Yeah, we should. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't have the disposable income to make sure that I can select specifically Canadian-made stuff. I just can't. And I'm being realistic, and that's all there is to it. So, with anyone that's going to be listening to this that is from Canada that disagrees with me, like I said, fuck you, I was right. And I was, and I still am. And I got nothing more to say. Gentlemen, back to you.
Yeah, V, you're up. Take it away.
So that's really how you feel, huh? Wow. All right. I'm glad you just put it all out there, man. Just get it off your chest.
Fuck you, I was right. Oh my god. No, honestly, like when this whole thing started,
well,
I said it doesn't make any sense as to why Trump would go after, one of his largest trading partners, and we have to go into an election to get all this shit fucking sorted out.
Well, Trump, he's got to snatch you by the kitty cat.
I don't like that kitty cat.
And yes, I have a cough too, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize for that, but it's okay. So from an American standpoint, I would just Trump is doing the right thing. Trump is okay. Well, I mean, if you look at it from the Democrats' point of view, I mean, not necessarily their point of view, but look at what they're doing. All the illegals coming into the country, taking out welfare, right? People on Social Security are robbed. People on Social Security are getting way more money than they are because they're not getting a living wage. They're not getting a living. I mean, people on disability right now. I mean, they're huddling up in group homes because the money that they get. These are people that work for years and years and years, right? Paid into the system. They don't have enough money to even pay their rent. They got enough money to pay bills, but hopefully they'll have some money to pay their rent as a roommate because they can't rent out their own house. The days of someone on disability being able to rent their own house is gone. It's been gone. So, I mean, the Democrats definitely screwed everything up. And we are in a recession, right? You can't pull more money out of the people to get the people out of debt. That creates a depression. Okay? Trump is doing the right thing. He's trying to make money for Americans. He's trying to rebuild our economy. Okay? He's trying to and the fact that we have a rich guy in office, okay, he knows the tricks of the trade. And as a rich person, you don't spend your own money. You get other people to spend their money on you. I can't tell you how much. Okay, knowing, a few rich people in my life over some other periods of times, I would tell you, they hardly ever spend their money. They get everything for free. There's always other people kissing their butts and getting stuff for free. Rich people stay rich. So that's the kind of mentality that we need for our country, the United States. And basically shaking people down. Yeah, shaking other countries down. Yeah, what you got? What you got, homie? Yeah, let me see what you got. What you holding? You ain't hiding from me over there. Hey, you over there. Come on. Yeah. Run the jewels. Run the sneakers. Run the watch. Yeah. You want to stay living on my planet? I'm the superpower. Yeah. Run the earrings. Run the oil. Run the rare earth minerals. Give me all that. Yeah, that's right. So that is, unfortunately, the elitist mentality that we got to have. And I believe it could help because Biden screwed us over. Biden destroyed the economy. I don't care what he said about anything, about him bettering anything. He didn't better a damn thing. Okay? Trump, I mean, he's got when it comes to money making, he's got the playbook. So if Americans are going to be happy, or at least content enough to make it another 4 years, we have to have somebody like Trump in office for the leftist, the globalists, before the globalists sells their souls away, gives us up for menial labor, slave camps, globalist.
Turn the frogs. Turn the frog skate there, V. Stop turning the frog skate.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Oh,
go ahead.
They're turning the frog skate. Sorry, just something just came to mind. Is like, are we talking about Macron and Trudeau?
He would be Jake Frog, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Wow. I have to wonder, I have to wonder, like, has anybody else made that connection? I'm just saying.
I think we have before, yeah. I think it comes up every now and again.
How's that just end? Anyway, back to you. No standards, folks. No standards.
Yeah, no standards. Anyway, Trump did say, I can't remember when he specifically said it, but he is fully intending on effectively gutting the IRS and bringing back which is basically how the states made their living before all.
Can I say something on that one?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not trying to intentionally step on you, my friend. But again, Trump integrated the Federal Reserve into the Treasury branch. And the Federal Reserve is not, correct me if I'm wrong, but Federal Reserve is not part of the government. It was always
it's not, but I wasn't talking about the Federal Reserve.
Yes, but if he's integrated the Federal Reserve into the Treasury, then at some point, with the IRS having been brought into existence, which was to bring in income tax after Woodrow Wilson and the Titanic sinking and everything else that went along with all of that stuff, things are starting to shift. That's really all that I can say on that matter. So I'm not surprised. My apologies if that is not really where you were going with all.
No, it wasn't, actually. It wasn't at all. My mention on this was the fact that before the IRS, before this AstroTurf fake campaign, and again, if you haven't seen what happened, it is fully described in the documentary. And now the name has completely escaped me.
All right, what was the documentary about?
It was about fiat currency and how money gets manipulated. It's an older one.
Okay.
It also, at the first, there were three of them, and the first one started out with a definition of what Jesus actually, the concept of the modern religion where Jesus actually emerged from. I wish I could remember it.
Oh, when he was, that's when he upturned the tables of merchants that were in a temple.
Yeah, no. It's not about that. It's about the fact that there are multiple gods that were all born on December 25th, And there is a clear sort of delineation that the Ten Commandments basically came from the Book of the Dead and that type of thing. And I can't.
You're talking solar messiahs.
Nope, that's not it.
That actually makes a lot of sense, actually, because
Everyone born on the religions that have someone born on December 25th are solar messiahs because of the seasons changing.
And that makes sense to go from the shortest day of the year into what will eventually be the longest day of the year.
Jesus, it's right on the. I'm like visualizing the entire movie, but I cannot remember the name of it. But in that movie, he was describing the second one was it described money mechanics and how it was being used in that system. And me and V discussed this on the previous show. That system is going to collapse under its own weight in a little over 10 years. It doesn't have much longer to exist. It cannot go on. They have to change over into a different system. The only one that actually generates anything proportional to the wealth that income tax did is tariffs. So they have to go back and they have to reinitiate the tariff system.
Yeah.
In which case, states have to produce wealth that other states need in order to be prosperous.
Are we talking within the U.S. or are we just talking abroad?
Everywhere. Like, basically, it's like, you have, which is the fundamental reason why Trump is imposing these tariffs to try to bring all these industries back. Because, if the tariff system goes back into play, the countries that produce the most are going to be the best off, aka bring all of the industries back. I'm going to also point out that most of the countries, Zeitgeist, that's the name of it, Zeitgeist.
I never did watch that one. Anyway,
it's around. It's got to be on one of the channels, and if it's not, then I'm gonna if it's not out there, then I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna put it up on all the channels that I've got. But I mean, that is the system that Trump wants to move to. He wants to move to a tariff system. And also, not to mention the fact that there's massive corruption inside the IRS, and the IRS has been, again, when it first started, it did actually, like a lot of things, it did actually have good intentions from the start, and it was used to bring down some very, very nasty and evil people like Al Capone, for instance, who was brought down with tax evasion, not with any of his criminal activities. The tariff system, this is probably going to be here to stay. Trump is going to, and because of the way the Democrats are moving, because we are going to be covering the hands-off protests on the next show. The way things are moving right now, he has to basically go in with a sledgehammer and he has to smash this stuff through as quickly as humanly possible, which means the IRS might not even exist by 2028. That, because he's got that system in place, all of the other countries that have a lot of trade with the United States, which includes Canada, will have to capitulate and start using this system as well, and will have to start generating wealth from the value, material value, not the fiat value, but the material value of the wealth that they create, which would actually kind of work out for Canada, which also perhaps explains why Trump is very interested in Canada.
Yes, he is interested in Canada, but he's going to get more value out of Alberta, Saskatchewan, the non-mainland, lower mainland, and island parts of BC, and potentially, like northern Quebec and the territories. Ontario is screwed because they don't have anything left. I mean, if Ontario was going to do anything, they would have done it a long time ago. Apparently, there was a big pocket of natural gas somewhere between Montreal and Quebec City, and no one can get in there because Ottawa and um, Quebec City don't want you to tap into it because it will turn the province into a half province, not a half not.
Yeah, that's what's keeping Alberta shackled to the Confederation. Yeah, and I'm aware of that. The whole system is set up. By the way, I have just recently discovered this.
Mhm.
If Alberta separates from Canada, Alberta becomes literally the wealthiest part of the entire western half of the West, and potentially most of the rest of the world.
Well, Jeffrey Roth has basically said if Alberta separates and we launch ourselves to the U.S., even with the hindered Canadian sweet crude or whatever it is that our Alberta's oil is traded at, we have the highest GDP per capita of the entire world.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
So, like it's like yeah. Do you think Trump would be very interested in Alberta doing that? Yeah, I think they would.
Right, he would. I would.
Well, I mean, it guarantees energy independence for the United States. They won't have to rely on oil from the Middle East. However, I got to point that out. Like, turning off the spigots to the Middle East is going to create a whole can of worms over there that I don't think we necessarily, because of what's happened with certain left-leaning parties in the West, importing all of these Muslims in. And by the way, I got to point out that most of them that basically means that all of that bullshit that's going on in the Middle East is going to boil over here. I'm going to also point out something, and this is not actually related to the actual topic at hand, but McGill University, like, literally had to shut the doors. They had, like, McGill University basically had a fuck around and find out moment, just like Columbia University did. Their student union backed a protest by pro-Hamas students on their campus where they were preventing students. They were preventing functioning of the college, and they were preventing students from going to their classes. And the university management, not the government, not the provincial government, not the federal government, but the actual university itself, basically lowered the boom on them. So it's like, yeah, Trump's effect internationally is starting to kick in a big way. Yeah, this is basically what the news is. So more or less, what countries that produce wealth or produce value to other nations are going to be the ones that are going to be the most prosperous, not the ones that can move numbers around.
So, not the ones that are going to be the most green, shall we say, but they have no technology to back up what it is they want to do. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Screw you, Ontario. I have nothing more to say.
Okay, well,
I like the idea of a system like that, because you have these Democrats who just want to print more money, inflation, and no, that's not gonna work. So, hey, yeah, I think this might be something to actually consider. Now, let me ask you something real quick. You don't think Canada losing an entire province would be ready to go to war?
I wouldn't. I mean, if it was Justin calling the shots, he absolutely would. I mean, I can see Justin maybe attempting something like that. It wouldn't work very well. Carney doesn't not strike me as being that type of a prime minister. Keep in mind that Carney is not the entire government. So would they actually attempt to do something like that? Probably not. After all, we are talking about Canada here.
I'm sorry, but if Alberta decides to leave, I won't be surprised if it ends up being like what happened with the Donbass regions of eastern Ukraine that wanted to leave and become part of Russia because it was the Russian-speaking majority population that voted for it. But they were screaming about voting irregularities. And I've been thinking about this as well, too. So, what's the definition of voting irregularities compared to the vote rigging system that we've seen happen over, I don't know, like the last, 3, 4, 5, 6 federal elections in the U.S.?
That's a possibility. If that happened, though, the U.S. would have very little choice but to intervene. Same thing.
Okay.
They would have very little choice but to intervene.
Okay, that's fine. Now, personally, I would be fully all for. I don't know how many other Albertans would basically would say to the U.S. troops coming in for energy independence or security and whatnot to Alberta. They're kind of like, yeah, come on in. Believe me, I'm not going to say no. That's how I am. And if someone would label me as being a traitor, guess what? Don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. You know what? And it's like basically once Alberta goes, I think most of the West is going to go in rapid succession.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, BC actually, hell, BC might actually even go before Saskatchewan because BC will then be geographically isolated.
Yeah.
And China has been desperate to get its teeth into North America somehow. They tried in San Francisco. It didn't really work very well. Vancouver is a prime target for them. Again, even if they don't do it in Alberta, and by the way, China will, if Alberta were to become its own independent province, like China would try to swoop in here like white on rice.
Well, I'd be very happy to have the U.S. intervene to keep us not more unbiased, but I would prefer to deal with the U.S. of A rather than the CCP.
I would take the U.S. government over the CCP in a cold second.
Yeah, and that's where people such as yourself and I are more level-headed, and we're looking at the bigger picture. But to go into Crackbook, we're going to get screamed at for being traitors.
Oh, I really don't give a shit what a bunch of fucking NPCs think. And they are. They're a bunch of idiot NPCs. If they're stupid enough to elect Carney, then the country is stupid enough to deserve exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is one of two things is going to happen. Either BC will, China will try to swoop in and take the city of Vancouver, which is for me because like literally 40% of my direct family lives in Vancouver, and I basically came of age in Vancouver. Right. That wouldn't sit very well with me.
You have an emotional tie with Vancouver. I get it.
I have a very strong emotional tie with Vancouver.
Yeah, I have a cousin who lives in Vancouver, and his wife is mainland Chinese, and he doesn't seem to express. I can't see him being a flag, CCP flag waving Canadian.
Yeah, you got just one cousin. I've got like literally like virtually most of my mom's side of the family lives in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah.
Anyway. So going back to the original topic here, I think this is also an attempt, and I mean I don't want to start because I'm not fully Team Trump at this point. To quote Sam Tripoli from Tinfoil Hats, This is basic, and you can't dismiss this as a possibility. The Pax America crime syndicate running things in the U.S. as opposed to the globalists. And by the way, they're not the same thing. At least with Pax Americana, you do have much more personal freedom, and you do have the ability to move up and move around, so long as you don't necessarily directly challenge the interests of the state, of the Pax Americana state, whereas opposed to the globalists who want to fucking micromanage every single aspect of your life.
You would own nothing, and you would be happy. Yes.
And eating the bugs, yeah, and doing things like causing cities, including my old home, my old hometown of Vancouver, turning parts of Vancouver into crime-infested fucking slums, worse than almost any other city in North America.
Well, where you and I both live, we're not that far away, but we're better off than we are in Toronto.
Oh, getting back to getting back to family. I've talked about going back to Vancouver a couple of times over the years, and my family keeps telling me it's like, no, don't come back here. It's not the city you remember.
Stay away. Yeah.
Yep, it's not the city you remember. But yeah, this is what Trump is attempting to do here. Is he's trying to bring back an older economic system. I think it's probably a better one overall, and they have to do it now because the individuals that set up the old one, who have obviously got a severe amount of financial investiture in the fiat currency system, don't want that to end, because they know that if they go to the tariff-based system, a lot of their money effectively becomes useless because they're going to the tariffs are just the start. I don't know the exact plan for the Pax Americana group, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some type of restructuring of the actual money itself.
I think that's where Alberta comes into the mix, and Saskatchewan for that matter as well too.
Okay, yeah. So that, I mean, yeah. I mean, so one of two things happens: Alberta leaves, and then either BC or Saskatchewan or both follow. It's basically whoever gets to the gate first. It's one of the other. It's because either A, China tries to get its stinking claws into Vancouver, and again, the U.S. government can simply not allow China to get any kind of a foothold inside North America, and that would include Canada.
Especially it's going to include Canada, actually.
You know, there's already a lot of friction. And they have, again, Trump hasn't said it, but I'm pretty sure they're aware of it. Canadians have been allowing Chinese troops to come over to Canada to train.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
And then there's also the Chinese police stations, right? So, I mean, it's like
14 of them spread across the country. Something like that.
They got to get rid of those police stations. By the way, that is something that the U.S. government is currently attempting to do. The State Department is currently attempting to do in the U.S. The other issue here is that, I mean, yeah, this is step one of a multi-step campaign being planned by the Trump administration and whoever takes over. Currently, the way the Democrats are acting, it's not going to be. I keep hearing some thumping in the background. Where is that coming from?
It's got to be me.
Okay.
Anyway,
because it's not.
Let's move on.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what it is. This, and oh, by the way, one last thing before we move on to the next topic here. There's a few countries here. I'll just bring up the graphic here because I'll show it to you. There's a few countries here. China, Vietnam, South Korea, India. Cambodia is at 97%.
God damn. Wow.
Serbia's at 74. Laos is 95.
South
Botswana
Africa.
is 74. Sri Lanka's 88. Like, there's a lot of countries that have basically come back running to the U.S. and going,
Yep.
yeah, sorry, we'll negotiate. Like, actually, the overwhelming majority of the reciprocal countries mentioned with reciprocal tariffs have come back to the have already contacted the State Department and said that they're going to they want to negotiate, they want to make a deal.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say. Every time you hear Trump fly off the fucking handle, well, Canada this and Canada that, you know, it's going to be 247%. Yes, there is that tariff when exports into Canada go over a certain amount. And this is what he agreed to. And it was supposed to be the... Okay, I'm actually going to rag on Trump for once. I really am. You know, this is the best deal that we've ever made and blah, blah, blah. But, again, here in Canada, Polyev is not going to go against the supply management, which is what is hampering the Canadian market for having. Yeah, I suggest you mute yourself where you get your chips out. Sorry to do that, man, but it was anyway. I mean, you know, the price of eggs and chicken and milk and cheese, by and large, is dictated by what Quebec is going to do. And those fucking frogs want to, well, they want to leave as quickly as 2026. And as an Albertan, I'm going to say, you know what? Fuck you. Get out. I was right. So we'll see. We will absolutely see how this all goes. But again, at the end of the day, in terms of the trade between, I don't care about Mexico per se, because I don't. But as a Canadian, I'm much more interested in the trade talks and tariffs and whatever else that's happening between on both sides of the 49th parallel. And again, I'm going to go back to Doug Ford. Lost his fucking mind and wanted to cause the price of electricity going to 3 states that Ontario Hydro is sending electricity into. But I'm also of the opinion that Doug Ford, in one form or another, helped assassinate his brother because he's the most liberal, conservative premier that Ontario's had for quite a while. So we'll leave that alone. So, Naruki, pardon me for saying it this way, but if you're done stuffing your face, let's move on to topic number 5. Oh, God.
Conservative in name only.
Oh, good God. We're moving on to her, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. When you're ready.
You just, it's because you just want her, that's why, Burson.
Fuck no! She's a fucking dyed in the hair, dyed to the roots ginger. Like, oh, tits on the bowl is more useful than this fucking female. I mean, good God. That picture you have of her, and you can see those cheekbones that are... Oh, good. I'm kind of taken back to, like, you know, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just before the face fucking melts. Those cheekbones that she has that are coming through. Yeah, she's one of those. I can rely on my looks. I don't care about my personality. And I'm gonna suck as much fucking dick as possible. And I'm gonna get away with it because I'm a little fucking valley girl. Oh, good God. Oh.
I'd step away here for a second, but are we making fun of this little chick here?
The wannabe redhead.
The wannabe redhead. She's not a natural redhead?
I don't think so, but I don't know because I don't know if the custom colors match. Actually, I think she. Well, looking at her hair color to her eyebrows, but then again, you can color your eyebrows whatever fucking color you want. She's got that fucking cunt look to her face.
Okay.
I was gonna say I was gonna have to come to her defense because you know me and redheads. You know me and redheads. I love them.
Well, you can take them because I'm not gonna fuck them.
Oh, I wouldn't touch this anyway. So, who is Rachel Gilmoure?
Yes,
To the
please.
one actual listener we now have, Rachel Gilmoure is, for American terms, I would put her in the same category as Brian Stelter, Jim
Joy
Acosta,
Behar.
Joy Behar,
Oh, good
Joy
God.
Reid. I would put her in that category.
Whoopi Goldberg.
And we're talking about actual media people here, not talking about people in
Oh,
Hollywood.
okay. Well,
But yeah, Joy Behar is a very apt. Whoopi Goldberg, not quite there. Same thing with Chris Cuomo. Bad, but not as bad. Rachel Gilmoure has had some of the shittiest effing takes that I have seen. I'm hard pressed to come up with another reporter in Canada that is as bad as she is. Charles Adler, who I used to have a lot of respect for and is now, in my opinion, a complete effing sellout, is bad, but he's not near. I mean, Rachel Gilmoure has said stuff, you know, as a YouTube personality, I would put her in the same category. And, well, maybe not quite as bad as Destiny and Vouch, but maybe one step down, because I don't think she's, well, at least not publicly anyway, as much of a degenerate as Destiny is. But for Canada, she is about as despicable a human being as you're going to get in terms of reporters. Lied about the Convoy protest, lied about COVID, had some really inflammatory, and was quite happy to do it about the unvaxxed. Has attacked literally every reporter on even like Instagram and X/Twitter commentators, has said some very inflammatory, almost outright lies about them. And of course, if you're going to do that, so as often as Rachel Gilmoure is, you're going to get called out. And she never replies to her critics, like ever replies to her critics. Like, she completely ignores them. She just goes on being an idiotic asshole talking head, says this stuff, and then when I have seen her respond on Twitter, it's been like a couple of lines and just a lot of snark, right? Like, not willing to back up anything of what she's saying with any facts or any principles, or not willing to go on any shows to defend her principles. She's just this talking head that says stuff. And I'm going to give her a little bit of credit here. I'm going to give her maybe about a 5 or a 6 for a woman. She's decent looking. She's not ugly. At least in my opinion. There are people that are willing to believe what she's saying. And it's just, she's a horrid, disgusting human being. And she got fired from CTV. Here's the thing. CTV and Rachel Gilmoure did not reveal why she got fired. Now, when this happens, that means potentially just a couple things. One, it was somebody inside CTV who got really, really pissed off with her and said, and it was somebody high up and just basically went, nope, she's gone. Or there was a change in the leadership at CTV that nobody knows about, and the person that did it didn't particularly like Rachel Gilmoure and left her, because CTV, although I gotta point out, CTV is not as bad on the propaganda as, say, CBC is, but they're still up there. She's still up there. And my personal opinion about Rachel Gilmoure is, yeah, so long, you won't be missed. You're a lying piece of shit. And again, the same. I'm going to fall back on people like Destiny and Vaush and Ethan Klein and Sam Cedar, individuals like that who lie and twist facts around as much as Rachel Gilmoure does, right? Where else does this show up in their lives? That's a question that needs to be asked of a lot of these people. Where else does this show up for them? And yeah, I'm sorry if you don't get it, but this is Canada's Joy Reid. Like, she is that bad. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah. Well, as I've already said, can't say no to a redhead. I mean, I can't say anything bad about a redhead, except for they're wild and evil, angry, but very passionate people. But I love them. I love them in sack. That's my kryptonite.
Well, you can have your way with this one, and if it goes south and she just goes, like, oh, Glenn Close on you, I'm not gonna much sympathy for you. Just saying.
Well, you're gonna make me sound like the freaking chauvinistic one on the show here. But I mean, why are we listening to her?
I don't listen
look pretty,
to her,
and that's it. I don't care what comes out of her mouth.
No, you care what goes into her mouth.
That's what I care about. Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but seriously though. And so there are people on the planet.
If we were still on YouTube, we would have lost our funding over that, but we're not on YouTube. Actually, we are, but I mean, I don't really care if this gets taken down or not. V, continue. Rierson, okay, we get it, all right?
Oh, good God. We're just
okay, so on a serious note, I kind of mean that, sorts of. Now, this is not based on sex or any chauvinism, but if someone says something stupid and they look pretty, well, guess what? They're to be seen and not heard. Ignore them. They're to be ignored. In other words, I know there's some people, I just can't stop referencing this because of how hard time I've been having lately. But there's some people that just will not take responsibility for their own lives, and they have to bring down everybody else. And so when you have these people making these remarks or statements or whatever, and they're totally out of left field from freaking from some reality that's not here, you just have to ignore it, because you can't argue with these people because they live in a different reality.
Oh, she doesn't even. She never responds to her critics.
So she is not to be listened to at all. She can't have a back and forth, a real back and forth, a civilized back and forth, and a realistic back and forth. Then she's not to be taken seriously at all.
We're done talking about the back and forth between like the three of us. She gets passed around, right?
Well, you know,
Sorry. Not really.
you can pass that around a couple times. You know,
No.
I like to hit it 2 times when I wake up. In the car, hit it 2 more times. Hit it 2 more times when I play video games. Nearly 2,000 points.
Oh, she's actually the one in that picture. Good God.
You can keep that one passing around, but no, but you guys understand what I'm saying, though. Just because something has a mouthpiece doesn't mean it has to be listened to. Just
No. Yeah.
and if it's pretty, oh my goodness, bless their little hearts. Pat them on the head and tell them to go and play. That's what I do.
Pat him on the head. Just fuck her. Anyway.
Yeah. Like go somewhere. Like get away from me. You know, you want to talk and act like a child, then I'm going to treat you like a child. So that's just how some of these people they don't get it. They don't get it. They think that their reality is the reality, even though they're slipping. People are making fun of them because they're slipping, but they live in a bubble, and it's just their bubble.
Yeah,
and it's just gonna pop. Well, the day that it pops, oh yeah, especially a redhead. Oh my goodness, her bubble bursts. People are gonna pay, and it's gonna be those people that have been listening to her too. So, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Harrison. Go ahead.
Well, I've had to listen to this this semi-non-defective, I don't know, XX chromosome-based life form talking in some sort of a House of Commons committee, or I don't know what the fuck it was. And she was like, "Oh my god," just like, but it, like, listen to Aaron Cleary when he goes off on Valley Grove Tangent. That's pretty much what I was listening to with that female. And the picture that Hiroki has put up of her, I'm looking at that, it's like, yeah, it's probably, she was about 33. The wall hasn't quite hit her, but it's going in a downward trajectory. My apologies. And I mean, I don't know how many people that she's had to get on her knees and go into the desk and suck cock or munch carpet, because I'm sure she's an equal opportunist, and she don't care because her moral standards are as loose as her freaking kneecaps or her both sides of her labia. Yeah, I went there, and trust me, I'm not going there, and I'm not coming in there either, too.
You can't spell tuna without opportunist. No, I don't know. Maybe you can.
I don't want to spell anything with that tuna phrase. Oh,
tuna to the tune.
Oh. I can almost
Are
see
you
her.
guys? Where are you guys posting up, man? I don't see any of this stuff. What are you two laughing at? I mean, it's like, are you posting stuff up that I'm not seeing?
No, I'm looking. Okay.
He said opportunist, and I said tuna. He said
Oh,
join between the legs. Are you not following what he's saying? Come on. My joke's that bad?
Oh my God! No, they're not that bad. Just Naoki's not picking up what you're putting down, and I don't want to pick up whatever she's putting down either with her slimy contrails. I gotta move on to this one.
We need a steam cleaner after she starts putting stuff down.
She is as useful as tits on the ball because she really doesn't have any tits. Anyway, I'm done.
okay. Let me move on to the last topic. The last topic of the night.
And you're gonna love this. Go ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
what the? Okay, what the fuck is going on with this one?
okay. Because it stood out to me because these two people separately charged, but on the same day, and they actually both have things in common. They're both celebrities at one point. Actually, you could argue that Russell Brand has been on the rise for a few years. But both of them, and this is something that I think is really curious about both of them had well known addiction issues. Jean Claude Van Damme dealt with it to a certain degree, but he didn't deal with it as effectively as Russell Brand did. Both of these guys have reputations for being promiscuous, would probably be the best word to say about it. Both of them were especially so back when they were using heavily. Now, Russell Brand cleaned up his act a few years ago. I don't know whether Jean-Claude Van Damme cleaned up his act, but apparently the stuff with Jean-Claude Van Damme is more recent. I will start with him, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I find this very ironic because this actually happened in Romania too. Allegedly, and I'm going to say this allegedly, had sex with an underage girl in Romania. The story on their end is that he asked somebody in Romania to provide him with girls. He didn't bother to ask the age when this guy just showed up. He had sex with these two girls. He didn't ask their age, and then it was only after the fact that that it turns out that they were underage and something happened. And the Romanian government decided that they were going to charge him. I don't know all of the details about it, but it looks like they may have Jean-Claude Van Damme dead to rights there because this was a very recent thing. And I will point out that Jean-Claude Van Damme, despite all of his personal defects of character, he has never been linked to Epstein. He's never been linked to P. Diddy. He's never been linked to any of the more degenerate Hollywood people that are out there. He does, however, have a substance abuse issue, which does impede. Having a substance abuse issue impedes you from making sane and rational decisions. That causes you to make decisions that are very dangerous to you and can be very damaging even years down the road. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, from all appearances, did not ask. He just simply asked for women to be provided. They were provided. He didn't do due diligence in finding out the age of these two girls. That's a big oopsie on his part. He may well have even been set up because apparently that is actually a big thing in Romania, is setting people up. And if you don't believe me, just look at what happened to the Tate brothers, who also live in Romania. Enough said there. Now, Russell Brand is a different story. Russell Brand was also. I mean, I remember when they were to get him to the gala or whatever it was, the movie that he was doing back when he was using. He was a very funny, charming, very entertaining kind of guy. He also was he was also a sex addict and a drug addict, and he had a really severe drug problem, which he eventually got under control. But not before marrying Katy Perry and being able to smash his face into her tits on multiple occasions. Which, by the way, despite my personal feelings about Katy Perry, I would not object to putting my face directly in between those boobs and doing motorboat sounds. But I digress. Russell Brand got his life back together. Russell Brand also became a cultural and political commentator of the very highest order. I would put him on the same level as the hell. Now I can't remember his name. Jordan Peterson. Put him on the same level as Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and those individuals. He is based out of Britain, though. We all know what is going on in Britain at the moment. It is not fun. It is not happy. And I don't envy anyone that actually lives there. The whole situation with him is that he got charged for rape and sexual assault over incidents that happened 26 years earlier, back in his using days, back when he may have indeed made a very bad decision. Now, I personally think, unlike Jean-Claude Van Damme, which may have been a bit of a setup, you cannot dismiss the possibility, given that it's the British government, that this is an attempt to shut Russell Brand up. Whereas I'm not going to say fully that it was a shakeup, because Jean-Claude Van Damme may have actually known how old these two girls were. But in the case of Russell Brand, given the fact that the British government has instituted hate laws that are draconian and sent, say, 6 people over to a person's house because someone took the pride flag and designed it to look like a swastika, and they had 5 cops go over to arrest this person for memes, and that they have attempted repeatedly to try to extradite Tate from Romania, and they've also put in anti-hate speech laws in Britain, which make it illegal to criticize the feminism. And they've also, and we did this on the last show, where we were covering that movie Adolescence, which was basically boy bad, woman girl good. And we should all be grateful that we have these feminists around to teach men what is accurate. And by the way, that particular TV series was actually mentioned in the House of Lords in Britain. So the British government is, and let's not forget what they tried to do with Tommy Robinson, by the way. Let's not forget that either. And the double standard that they had on those Muslim protests that we also covered on the show a few months ago. I could go on and on and on and on. There doesn't appear to be any type of a serious opposition, at least currently in Britain, to stopping what is going on. The fact that they had to go back 20, and somebody had to have done some digging. Just like with Andrew Tate, somebody would have had to have gone in and done some serious digging to get this kind of information on Russell Brand and dig it up and use it as an attempt to throw him in jail. Because that is exactly, hold on a second. That is exactly what it looks like to me. And again, I put these two together. They're not connected in any way, and they're not related in any way, except for the fact that there's definitely a possibility of false accusations on both of these people's part. But, you know, specifically in the case of Russell Brand, it looks very much like it may have been politically motivated. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, so I do believe this is also politically motivated. But the digging, I don't know. How long ago was it supposed to be? Like 26 years or something?
Well, yeah, 26 years, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to dig. They can get some. Knowing that this man was intoxicated 24/7, all you have to do is get some nameless foreign women just to be able to go along the story, to be able to corroborate the story, and throw them in jail. That's all it literally takes. Like literally.
Yep.
So these are the kind of things I wish. Oh, we're losing our heroes to the drugs, man. We're losing all of them. It's just one of those things. People need to stop advertising, stop announcing. You know, if you've got hardcore drug addiction, maybe that's something you should keep to yourself. You know, the world doesn't need to know. Just because you're rich and you can fill my entire bedroom from floor to ceiling with bricks of cocaine doesn't mean you should do it. Maybe you shouldn't advertise that. Maybe you shouldn't have cocaine parties. Because there's always a wolf. This guy's eyes on you. He, she, whoever. You know, become both sexes. Candy apple of their eye. About to get bit. And so, and the thing about Russell Brand, I saw this happening, like, already. Like, it was either, there's two scenarios for Russell Brand. This one that he's in right now, or the fact that he's getting older and he's not relevant anymore. He's going to force himself onto a woman, not understanding.
I mean, he's actually pretty relevant if you've been listening to his podcasts.
No, I don't listen to his podcast. I completely stay away from his podcasts.
Okay, yeah,
but he's not relevant.
He's not up there with Rogan, but he's definitely just one step down. So he's definitely not that irrelevant. Just pointing that
out. He's not relevant as a sex symbol, as a movie star. He's not relevant like that anymore. Okay, so he doesn't. He understands he's getting older, and my prediction was he was going to just force himself onto a woman. He's getting older. He's not as good looking.
Yeah, he's clean now. He's clean and sober though. That's a big difference between then and 26 years ago.
That ego, I'm telling you. But anyways, so I saw this happening to him in one direction or the other. Definitely political. Then. If his podcast is still going, then it's more than likely political, because he does have a few good things to say every now and again. I don't listen to his podcast, but every once in a while you get those highlights here and there, no matter where you look. Although I haven't seen anything from him in a few years.
Oh, I have. I see stuff from him all the time on Rumble, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is topic. I got a story for you guys. Story time with me, ladies and gentlemen. Story time. So, I used to date this woman. Okay, we were together 9 years, She used to, you know how you have the ways that you get to each other, you get on each other's nerves, and you try to take cracks at each other just to put the other one down a peg or two. Well,
Bad grief.
she was.
I'm married.
We were basically married 9 years. I mean, come on. Excuse me, but yeah, she took the biggest jabs at me because I liked my Van Damme films. I grew up watching Van Damme. Van Damme is the man in my book. So she was like, you know, my uncle used to date Van Damme. What the hell are you talking about? Well, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says he used to do cocaine with him all the time and have sex with Van Damme. Like, you know what? Van Damme is such an alpha. He is such a badass that, you know what? I'll believe your story. Because to subjugate a tiny little woman is nothing. To be that powerful and awesome of a man, no, you need to bend over another dude and assert your dominance sexually. So I flipped it right back on top of her head there, and she was so mad at me forever. I was like, yeah, Van Damme dominance. But no, I just I don't know. It's there was never any official coming out of the closet sort of thing with him. So yeah, I don't know. You get to that age where, again, relevancy, right? You're not going to just be able to go and pick up what you want off the street, especially as a 60-something-year-old guy who's blown away most of his money. And it's not that famous anymore. I mean, ask Gen Z who Van Damme is, right?
Oh.
Ask any Gen Zer who Van Damme is.
I know who he is.
I grew up with him. They didn't. So yeah, he's still a celebrity. He's still Van Damme. Yeah, he can go to a spot and order a couple of girls. Yeah, absolutely. And where was this, by the way? Was this in Romania?
Yeah, this was Romania.
Do we know the logistics of this one?
He asked for a couple girls, and somebody provided them for him. And either he didn't check or he didn't check or whatever, and they turned out to be great.
But what country was this in?
Romania. I already said this.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And see, that's the other thing about it too. And these countries like this, maybe Romania is trying to do some weird flexes of how beautiful the girls are, maybe increase tourism and all that stuff. You know, I've been through Europe. I can tell you, as far as girls, you want to be the Czech girls, the Polish girls. Those are two. Nobody's going to go to Romania for some women, for some girls. I'm sorry. Nobody in their right minds. No. I'm sure there's plenty of beautiful Romanian chicks out there, but the the Roma, as they call them over there, aren't exactly high up on the order. You get a Roma or a couple of Roma girls because they are underage and they are kind of dirty, and nobody is ever supposed to find out about it. Now, you want to talk quality girls, top quality women. You go
Budapest.
In my opinion, check. The Czech girls.
Oh, the Czech girls look nice, but the ones that have the best, that are the most accessible are the ones in Budapest.
Did you say best abs?
No, them have the best access.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I don't know about Budapest. I didn't go through there yet. All I could have. Train goes from Budapest all the way like to freaking Portugal. So yeah, Roma girls. That's there's a joke that goes on there in Europe. It's like, you want a Roma girl? How many goats? That's an absolute real thing. So they're not high order. I don't know why people are getting in trouble there so much for the girls, but I think the government there is having a backlash, a cultural backlash, because of things that are said about said women, and maybe they want to look like they're the best, but they're not. That's my opinion. So, Van Damme, if he wants to save himself, he needs to come out of the closet. If he has indeed had sex with other men, this might save his butt, and maybe this will help soften the blow or get him out of the situation. But yeah, I don't know. I feel I've always wanted to tell a story though. And with that, I'll pass it on to Harrison.
Okay, Harrison, take us out. Only 2 hours tonight. That's not bad.
Well, okay. The first thing I'm going to say is with Van Damme, I liked him, but I hated him in his heyday. So, fuck, whatever. I mean, he was known for snorting as much coke as possible, and he had a pretty bad habit. So I don't feel terribly sympathetic for him. But on the other end of things, though, is that Russell Brand was also married to Katy Perry, and I don't have anything good to say about that fucking crazy
boobs
bitch as well, too.
Boobs. It's all right. That's the only thing I know about Katy Perry is boobs.
I'm gonna say I'm not a fan of her music, but boy, can I look at her all day long.
Whatever works for you, man. I could look at Jade Cush all fucking day long too, but I have other things to do with my time. But whatever works for us, because we're simple men or simple creatures.
We know listen, the preparation, the oiling, the dressing down the gimp suit. It takes so much time. And the proper way to put it on. It's like you're Paul Mordeeb trying to put on that water suit. You're the Kuzak Sadarak of sex clubs. Paul Mordeeb over here.
Good God. I think I should have gone into special effects. Anyway, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, okay, you do what you want to do, and if there is if there will be no change in the power structure, moving into a new paradigm, and you think you're safe, yeah, okay, great, you're safe. I don't think Katy Perry was ever safe. I mean, apparently she was a devout Christian, but she was happy to sell her soul for success. So, take that however you will, and whoever you are, and however you will go with that. I don't care. Like, I really honestly don't care. I mean, I see Brand and Van Damme as being no different than to a lesser degree, I suppose, as being no different than Bill Cosby or Weinstein, where you couldn't touch them to save your life. Now, am I terribly interested in either of these cases? No. And after tonight's podcast, am I going to remember about this? Will I remember that about them? Or not? I've got other things on my mind. There are other things I have to deal with. So if they are genuinely innocent, then yes, I want due process to go through the proper steps, and and they get let go, and Bob Jungle, we're all done. But if the whole thing was Romania, Andrew Tate, and the British keep coming or going back for more and more and more and more. Like personal to anyone that's been part of on the receiving end of the British justice system, yeah, I feel sorry for them. But I have other things to do with my life. I have other things I have to go to or work on or whatever else. I'm looking at you, fuck you, that sort of thing. And it's, for me, it's a non-issue. Now, I'm not saying it isn't important. I mean, Lord knows, what did we watch with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Too much crap that came out of Hollywood. Will it get to that? It could very well be. May not necessarily be on the side of Van Damme, but I could see Russell Brand actually being able to defend himself much better than Jean-Claude can't. So, asshole. Oh, come on, Hiroki. Yeah, exactly.
I had to. I know how it's.
Asian.
I would tap that.
Yeah.
And V. Although V here will deny that she's too skinny for him. Take one look at that and go ahead, V. Tell me you wouldn't tap that.
I make my jokes, and yes, I do love my BBWs, but my current. I'm gonna say, after the show, I'll send you pictures of my better half. She's smaller than this Asian girl.
Well, Jade Cush is 4'11", so she is short.
Yeah, I don't even think she's even 5 foot.
No, she's 4'11". I just said she was 4'11".
Good Lord.
That's actually. I mean, it doesn't matter how skinny you are. You're 4'11". I'm tossing you. You can toss across the room. I'm pinning you up against the wall. I'm. We might as well.
You were on the receiving end. That's what you are. And you can't fucking do a goddamn fucking thing about it.
Exactly.
But those tits of hers, oh my god. No fucks to give, folks. No fucks to give. And I'm the diplomatic one. Anyway.
If I knew how to add pictures, I'd throw some in here. But I'll wait for the other chat.
Anyway, I'm going to take this photo down and go back to the original, and Rusin can finish this topic off.
Yeah, please. Top it off.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, with both actors, celebrity personalities, whatever you want to, however you will define them as, they're both on the decline. I mean, fuck, what was it after Bloodsport? That big one with Van Damme. Oh no, I think it was what, Super Soldier? I think that was the last of his Hollywood run-throughs. He had a terribly expensive cocaine habit. So, guys, be careful because you don't know when your past is going to come up. It's going to come back and bite you in the ass. If it's not going to bite you up the ass. And that's for Brand. As for Brand, he's basically put himself out there as being a political target of convenience. They just haven't found a reason to go after him until about now. So I would love to be surprised by this with Brand, but I'm not. Van Damme, some bitch has gotten something up her fucking twat that just never went away over the last 20 fucking years, because I can say the same thing about somebody new. I wish I never met her. And I'm done with her, and I've told her as much as well too. So I think it's about the same, but just with the male perspective. Yeah, I'm finally done with you. Fuck off. Where's the one? I'm gonna make you fucking pay. That kind of shit. So, poor bastard. But you know what? At the end of the day, though, when you become a celebrity, you're that much more of a target. So, maybe he'll live and learn. Maybe he won't. I don't know. And I don't really care. So, I got nothing more to say. Back to you, man.
Okay, so this concludes a surprisingly short show tonight. We only went just a little over 2 hours. We should be doing this a little bit more frequently. Thank you, Risa, for showing up tonight.
I'm not going to promise the next time I'm going to be out here with or without Angel.
If I post up nudies of a Jade Kush, that might encourage you to come back again. Here, just a quick one. Yeah, there we go. Just remember, Rearson boobs. And with that, we are done tonight. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And I will see you again, hopefully, next Sunday. And my employment situation is going to change one way or the other, as Rearson already knows. This is my last rotation at this particular location with the company that I'm currently with. And with that, I am done for tonight. Oh, before I leave, Patreon is Naroki 5. BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Bradion, and YouTube, all as some. Well, actually, not YouTube, but all the other ones. I am in some version of the Naroki. Facebook, Minds Gap, MeWe, Parlor, not Parlor, Getter, and TLB Talks online. Thank you very much for listening.
And OnlyFans.
What?
And OnlyFans.
I don't have OnlyFans. Only simps use OnlyFans. I call it Only Simps. That is it for tonight, folks. We will talk to you. We'll talk to you in a week, or when I finally get around to doing my next Naroki 5 live stream. Have a good night.